the central banks are using the XRP Ledger to move $200 million worth of real-world assets onto the blockchain. We Rigana talk about how all of a sudden tons of Bitcoin wallets from the early days of Bitcoin have woken up after being dormant for 12 years and moved their Bitcoin to centralized exchanges. In a new announcement from Mercado Bitcoin, one of Brazil's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, they announced a new partnership with Repel to tokenize over $200 million in real-world assets on the XRP Ledger. As mentioned, Repel is a Brazilian fintech firm focused on tokenizing real estate and other assets. Tens of thousands of Bitcoin have been moved from wallets last active during the time of Bitcoin's founder Satoshi Nakamoto. And this is definitely something that we should all be keeping an eye on. As you can see, we have had a ton of Bitcoin move from old wallets. Some believe that this is a sign that the altcoin season is over before it even began. But I tend to disagree. I think that this is simply telling us that the liquidity hasn't been injected into the altcoins. Yet, that means that this Bitcoin liquidity is waiting on the sidelines for Bitcoin to cool off a bit before moving into alt. Only time will tell what happens. But this is definitely something to keep your eyes on. To make things worse, these wallets haven't been active since the early days of Bitcoin. To make things even worse, this Bitcoin didn't go to any sort of cold storage wallet, but rather to centralized exchanges. And according to the announcement, the first tokens will be notes issued in the real Brazil's currency. There could be an innocent explanation, but as Bitcoin nears its all-time highs of 112,000, many believe that this is a sign of an impending dump. The thing is, Bitcoin is currently sitting between 107 and 109,000. So this is basically the last stand before Bitcoin either breaks out to new all-time highs or tanks in value. Many believe that this is a sign that the Bitcoin whales are taking profits as they did in previous cycles. That Especan Psycho, we see a few large wallets liquidate large portions of their Bitcoin holdings, leading to a massive crash in value. Now, some argue that this isn't the case this time around because Bitcoin isn't overheated. But in my opinion, the price doesn't really matter at this point. It's the whale activity that matters. And right now, the whales are clearly taking profits. They also claim that the notes will be traded on an alternative trading system. As you can see, XRP is having a small correction right now, coming in at about $2.20. This pump that we saw yesterday was likely due to this massive injection of liquidity into the market. Basically, someone deposited a ton of Bitcoin and Ethereum onto the XRP Ledger, which resulted in a massive increase in liquidity. The reason why this causes the price to spike is simple: supply and demand. With much more liquidity, the demand for XRP goes up, causing the price to spike. Of course, that also means that when the liquidity is removed, the price usually corrects. And we also talk about how Bitcoin is nearing its all-time highs and how this is resulting in a massive sell-off of Bitcoin as the whales take profits. First up for today, we have major news coming out of the cryptocurrency space as the heavyweights announce a new collaboration. In fact, we actually covered this back in April when they announced that they were looking to do this. So it's great to see them finally getting this launched. Either way, this is big news because, as the announcement states, over 70 central banks around the world are now part of the trusted network. It's also important to note that this is being done on XRP Ledger's private ledger. And if you aren't familiar with XRP Ledger, it actually has two ledgers: a public one that everyone uses, and a private one that institutions and financial partners can use for private transactions. This is huge, as it shows that big finance is continuing to move towards blockchain. And with so many central banks involved, this could very well be the future of our entire financial system. Not only does this move show increased adoption of blockchain tech, but it also shows that blockchain isn't just for cryptocurrencies anymore, but is quickly becoming the go-to solution for managing all types of assets. And given the security and control provided by the blockchain, it's easy to see why. Next up, we have some extremely concerning news coming out of the Bitcoin world. Now, it's important to mention that this isn't 100% nefarious. With that being said, we did hint at this yesterday in our video, and it looks like this liquidity is starting to get withdrawn. That's all for this video. See you in the next.